The best program for editing.
What is this?
30 DaVinci bugs. And what are the advantages of a compositor and a CapCut? And what's wrong with the Premiere's new products? What should a beginner choose, and why update software for losers? Updated.
I won't be able to calculate the data for the satellite.
Which program should I choose for video editing? I will share my 15 years of experience, as well as 30 DaVinci bugs. There are too many theorists who saw videos on this topic when they did not understand any program properly, and did not work in large projects in a team, but they give out advice everywhere with a business-like look. What a beautiful DaVinci type. They cut up their own Reel-6 and weddings, then they make expert podcasts like that. The example is more popular.
There are a lot of cool plugins under it. And plus DaVinci is faster and more stable.
But although thanks to just such noobs, I made this video. And to be objective, I will tell you about the shoals of the 24th year of DaVinci, as I expose another opinion of the sofa expert. He said that in the 24th year. And I will tell you why in the professional sphere, no one puts the latest version of the software and is not updated. Except, of course, hamsters. And first we'll go through the DaVinci jams, and then I'll tell you about the features of the other programs. I mount something every day, both on powerful equipment and on a simple laptop. Of course, on a powerful computer, all the programs are almost level in stability. But on the average laptop, all the jams came out. And besides, I think it will be more interesting for a simple user to know how each program will behave on an average technique. Obviously, DaVinci is a super versatile tool, and there are cool fusion solutions. The system nodes is much easier than layers and groups in the effect. But there are certainly enough jams that put an end to many projects. So, let's go to DaVinci's Bahamas. Research is carried out on a laptop of average performance. Point 1. DaVinci's acceleration and deceleration are not considered an effect. What is this fraught with? You speed up the video clip, and there are already problems. And after such changes, it is impossible to view the video on that line normally. I set the quality to the lowest, turn on smart caching, and it does not activate. Since it does not perceive acceleration as an effect or load, so it is unrealistic to look in real time. We have to do a full-fledged render manually. And you are up to an example, especially in CapCut, it is done very easily, and without any breaks. Point number 2. Illogicality in online work. If you copied a piece of video from the first track on the ruler, you will no longer be able to put, for example, on the third. It will overwrite the lower-level plans on the first road. Such a stupid feature is made and the new Prime Minister by default. But the coolest thing is implemented in Composer. There, right on the ruler, it can all be changed without going into the program settings. Point 3. Clumsy grouping. When syncing the audio on their line from the dictaphone under the video, these group plans cannot be accelerated or slowed down as a whole group. Everything has to be done separately. First the sound, then the video. This is very inconvenient and primitive. Even if you enclose this group in a compound, either render and accelerate, or separately. Is the rake. Point number 4 is stupid bin management. When, for example, you drag one file into the bin. If there were hundreds of files in the bin before, then it's impossible to find a new file there. And in the do example, or in Composer, it remains under the mouse. And in DaVinci, there will be a horseradish understand where. You won't tighten it again, as it is considered a duplicate. And you have to sit and search by name. And when you have hundreds of videos in bin, it shakes the nervous system. And if you move a file from one bin to another, then a screenshot of this file appears under the cursor, which overlaps everything under it. And you don't see which bin you're moving the file to. A trifle, but annoying. Item number 5. The tweezer system is in that line. The frame for stretching the video works every other time. It often has to be corrected manually. That I don't know. When you point at the junction of the video, a frame appears for stretching the video. So periodically it does not appear. I'll introduce an example it's better. But all the same, these tweezer manipulations suck, both in the Premiere and in DaVinci. It is perfectly thought out only in the form of a composite. It's unrealistic to accidentally open something or move it on the ruler, and you don't have to waste a lot of time to aim. And the worst solution is in DaVinci. There you want to drag a short fragment, and you open all sorts of adjustments of effects through curves to the full screen. Then the whole line there will move off the screen, which is as idiotic as possible. Item number 6. Smart rendering in DaVinci is inefficient. It is impossible to watch the installation in real time. renders only heavy effects, and video or audio acceleration is not taken into account for smart caching. I have already talked about this a little above, but there are worse things. When you manually render an excerpt of the video, you will spend a lot of time, and then it turns out that if you render in low-quality preview mode in this line, then everything will be reduced to low quality. You don't always remember about this feature, and then you spit that you wasted a lot of time on rendering. Point 7. Workspace is as dumb as possible. After restarting the project, the window settings and the line settings are not saved, as well as the name of the export file and the name of the sequence. I have to re-enter it. And as an example, you can customize all the windows for yourself and save the preset as a separate workspace. And with a large number of sequences, this is a huge waste of time. For example, you need to make 20 videos. You create 20 sequences and give them a name. And then you bring everything together in one mass. And in DaVinci, it will be 20 sequences without a name, despite the fact that they have already been named, and you kill a lot of time to reorder everything. Point 8. Stable tank in Fusion. Fusion crashes constantly when presets are saved. For example, in Fusion, you will assemble your preset with nodes and decide to save it. This will stably lead to a hang, and not immediately, but when you already switch to the installation mode. The 9th point, the second way of stable departure of the DaVinci project. When switching the playback quality of complex projects with a high load, it often crashes. And it doesn't matter if you increase or decrease the quality. I'm already used to what will take off, so in terms of the number of departures, DaVinci is in first place among all the software I work in. Point 10. On the same laptop, DaVinci slows down even on simple graphic elements. It is unclear when synchronization is going fine and when it is not. Graphics significantly slow down any project. A trap with such graphics is generally easy to go, but DaVinci is hell. You can just throw a picture without alpha, or if it's a simple title, then everything just falls down. In real time, you mount and everything seems to be fine. And then you export this video, and it turns out that everything is too accelerated. Because in DaVinci, during installation, everything was in slow motion, because the project was heavy. Instead of skipping frames, for example, as in the pre-premiere when busy, you objectively orient yourself in it. What is happening on the ruler, despite the skipping frames? And in DaVinci, alas, there is no such thing. Item number 11. Harm of the interface. DaVinci's interface is inconvenient. You can't stretch the ruler to the full screen. And the color scheme is annoying, because you can't change it. But in fact, this is a problem for many programs. People don't realize that glowing text on a dark background and a dark interface leads to myopia of the eyes. This is useful for color correction, but most of the time people spend on editing. And the dark interface is specifically harmful, and besides, it's not clear where the windows in DaVinci end. Everything merges into one light. And the best solution is windows in the Premiere Valley. You can expand any window to full screen. Do you want to dig into the bean? Once, enlarge and leaf through. Or if, for example, you have 20 cameras on a ruler, open this ruler to full screen, and you can safely move the sound. And in DaVinci, the Edith tab looks more like a children's application for children's toys. Also, copying does not always work the first time. And Fusion is not copied at all, although such a function is provided for the 13th point. Codec Jam H264 is in DaVinci. The developers have optimized the video for editing on the line of the codec H264, which goes out sideways completely in random places after exporting. A green field may appear one frame at a time. And to find out, I had to kill a lot of time and nerves. Therefore, for installation, you need to make some settings, then overload before mixing the sequence, and then return everything again. A very fun attraction. Just answer the clever about recoding in installation format. If I need to substitute a couple of plans from YouTube and recapitulate them into the desired format each time. This is a method for dinosaurs. In all other editing programs, this function is basic. It works perfectly, but DaVinci is always different. You constantly need to recount something. When the editing program can't digest popular codecs, it's a kindergarten. The 14th point is that the simplest operations require complex manipulations. For example, when I download a video from TikTok, importing it into the project, it does not play sound. We have to constantly convert, that is, use third-party software for a banal operation. And time is a very expensive resource. DaVinci, a killer time on such trifles. Item number 15, strange exporting features. The optimization of the codec H264 in DaVinci is disgusting. YouTube Shorts does not recognize these files from DaVinci in any way. Therefore, again, the basic operation requires third-party software for the final conversion. The 16th point is that it is impossible to work in a team. When working with other people's projects and files sent from remoters, some videos simply do not open, and there is no way to link the missing files. For example, as an example, I can import a project or XML file if I work in a team that is remote, and all problematic files are not deleted anywhere. In DaVinci, if I tighten the XML, some files on the ruler simply disappear. For example, in the premium version, if the file is not readable, then it shows as offline media, easy to find and replace. And in DaVinci, there are just a lot of empty areas, and find out where that place is unreal. Moreover, the same code may not be read from this XML, while others read, although the code is the same. And it's not clear what to do with it. Can you tell me why you don't change DaVinci projects in the team, but use XML? The bottom line is that big projects are a problem for DaVinci. First of all, it is not clear whether there is a desynchronization of cameras. In DaVinci, there is no rigid binding of video to sound. When mixing more than 2 hours of video in light codecs, it often just freezes. Item number 17. Simple operations are done through the 5th point. When there are a lot of cameras online, navigation in it is as idiotic as possible. Always something accidentally opened or moved, settings, curves, or the size of the subtitles. And as for simple operations, for example, you need to save a screenshot through the 5th point. And if you need to save a photo sequence, then you can only use the typhoid format. But it takes up a gigantic space. Video with alpha channel from DaVinci reads only DaVinci himself. Other programs don't see such an alpha channel at all. However, I found a workaround. But again, I killed a lot of time to find a solution. Point 18. Playback of the ruler. When playing from the junction of frames, half or 1.5 frames are often lost, which is why the cropping turns out to be incorrect. Inhale an example. As soon as I heard it, I stopped there. The playhead and the cut are always clear. In DaVinci, you seem to have stopped by ear clearly at the end of the phrase, but in fact, you don't understand where. Plus, in DaVinci, the picture of the sound wave does not correspond to what you hear. And adopt prime, a clear link to the sound picture. And in DaVinci, again, it is unclear why to navigate. Forever, every joint needs to be adjusted, and pulled or cut. And now think about it. If you mount every day, hundreds of hours of life are spent on such trifles. Item number 19. Hidden buggies. Sometimes you drag out a clip from YouTube, edit it, but you can't export it. Because you find out that 2 frames at the beginning of the video are offline. Although this is a one-piece video, and you don't understand how this is possible, the most annoying thing is that it comes out when you export the video, and it suddenly freezes by 90%. How did these 2 broken frames appear there? Although there is no such example in the video. In it, even with empty frames, it comes down without problems. Just be media offline these few frames. And not stupidly freezes when Vinci. And there are a lot of such jams coming out, especially if you transfer files from different projects. Since the DaVinci project system is not free at all, as in the Premiere, but everything is based on a database, which complicates operational management and the identification of shoals. Item number 20. What just happened? The curve management tools work every other time. It often shifts, you constantly need to fix something. Those who have experienced this will understand here. For example, when the curve climbs out of the screen, you sit like a raccoon who has lost cotton candy. And if you want to shift the video on the ruler and suddenly accidentally click on these curves, a window opens for the entire ruler. And everything is fucking shifting. And again, you have to manually return everything, which is wildly infuriating. By the way, during the recording, here I took the video right in the process, tightened it, decided to move the curves. And DaVinci flew out of me. But I'm using a pretty powerful computer right now. Here are its characteristics. This is the most striking example when, with elementary operations, the scourge is stupidly knocked out. And all sorts of would-be schoolchildren constantly shout that the example is buggy compared to the 20th example. My example crashes once a month in 2. DaVinci crashes every day stably, and I work almost the same in all programs. Item 21st of the hotkey. Because hotkeys are implemented in the editing program, it is easy to understand that people who do not fumble in the installation have developed the coolest implementation of this kind of compositor, including its cool keyboard. Signs that DaVinci's developers have a humanitarian mindset. Here there are operations that are performed constantly, and their management should lie under the left fingers, as on Avid Composer. And in DaVinci, they shove the insert into the very edge of the keyboard, under the F9 button. And the hand constantly comes off from its usual position and returns. Each such second of a strong change in the position of the hand in 5 years will take tens of hours of your life. Out of 100 hours, when the finger misses the button because it is too far from the basic buttons of the landmarks. And you're like an excavator pulling your left hand. Of course, some wedding planner will say that this is nonsense, he clicks everything with the mouse. But those who work professionally in the stream, these little things are critical. And all professionals always work only with hotkeys and not poking the mouse through the menu. This is a simple proof that the DaVinci mounting part was made by marketers. But the traffic light, of course, is on top. There is no such thing in any other program. Point 22. When returning to the bin after switching to another bin, you have to redraw the preview again, which is inconvenient. And what is most infuriating about DaVinci? So after each reboot of the project, you need to reconfigure all the beans. And there is a line. And when there are many bins, the last open one is not saved. And it is impossible to build your own branch of individual bins, as in the View Compositor or in the Premiere. This, as for me, is a kindergarten, and not a professional dismantling program. Point 23. Their line. When scrolling, the mouse wheel scales unpredictably. Either on a very large scale or on a very small scale, which complicates the video editing. It is clear that the scale of the ruler can be done with the keyboard buttons, but the mouse can significantly speed up this process. That's when you turn the mouse wheel literally half a degree, and your scale shifts into space. It's wildly annoying. As an example, it's cool when the mouse wheel zoom focus works where the cursor is, but in DaVinci only on the playhead. This pain will be understood only by a couple of % of people who work with very large projects. Point 24. Self-removal videos on the ruler. You can't work in one big project for a long time. Buggies get in which signatures turn into squares, and markers become triangles, and all other tools are hypertrophied. This is a very rare jam, but if it appears, then the project becomes impossible to work with. There was another case when, after manually saving a project, all video clips were deleted, except for sound. And I had to open the autosave of the project every time. This is an extremely fierce game. This appears when you turn off the autosave. Point 25 is a stupid export system on the stack. When exporting a whole series of sequences to the stack, DaVinci reduces only the last selected one, the rest are ignored. Therefore, we have to check it repeatedly. Imagine when you put stack sequences into exporting, for example, overnight. And in the morning you will find out that only the last video was exported. Since there is an idiotic system here, it is necessary to manually allocate this stack for each sequence. I don't know what the developers smoked when they implemented such stupidity. Of course, you don't always remember about this feature. And then you waste a lot of time. Point 26. When selecting clips, labels often jump over completely random places. Tags live their own lives. Very often this happens, you mark a fragment of a video on the there line, export it, spend a lot of time. And then you find out that the first label suddenly decided to put it on its own a few seconds later. And you won't even blame everything on the magnet, since there is no cut there. This is a stupid joint that lives its own life. And the magnet here is the most crooked of all the programs that I know. Item 27 is an infinite render. It's not really a problem, but it's a nasty joint. You click, for example, to stop rendering or exporting, and DaVinci doesn't care. He will count up to 90%. Only then will it turn off. In general, DaVinci lives his life in this regard. Point 28 of the new version of Adobe Premiere was adopted by DaVinci's Shoals. I give advice, if you use Adobe Premiere, then only the 20th version. It is not so cut with other versions, which is higher. And what is the most miserable, for example, with version 23, a couple of plans can be exported to offline media on a weak laptop in random places, and there will be no errors in the logs. And if you decide to recode, the media offline will appear in other places. And imagine, every day you make a video for 2 hours, and you need to look at everything in real time for the presence of such lag. That is, for professional work, the 23rd version is no longer suitable, because two dangerous shoals get out. Point 29, the best program for teamwork, is the 20th example, and Avid Composer. Again, the Adobe versions of the Premiere are no older than the 20th. Up to the 20th version of the example, the project files are a text document that can be changed for any version. For example, one of the removers, the editor has an old version. And for him, you can easily make edits to a text document and throw it to him for rough editing. There is, of course, an Adobe online service for downgrading the version, but it works in 10% of cases, and recently, it has not worked at all. I like the Adobe example for its versatility and stability. Fairy tales that he is buggy are complete nonsense. But I'm only talking about the 20th version, because there are a lot of useless changes and bugs in the new versions. And the update often introduces instability. Well, and an important point after the 20th version, a lot of things were cut down to the premieres. By the way, a couple of stupid updates to the Premiere above the 23rd version. When exporting, the entire sequence is always reduced, and in older versions and add-ons, the user's choice was saved. And in short, here you need to choose every time so that everything comes down to labels. You constantly forget about it and waste time constantly making settings. And of course, when you forget about it, if you forgot, then instead of excerpts, they will encode a series of identical large videos for you. And in the old versions, you click export and immediately the export window opened. And now in the new versions, and before the example, I copied a stupid scheme like in DaVinci. When switching workspaces, instead of opening a small window, it works much slower than just opening a window. The titrator and the running line were also removed. Most of them, of course, do not need it, but in my projects, it is necessary. In general, a lot of this stupid little updates that are made by marketers, not experts. During the installation, more points on working with DaVinci surfaced. Individually, it seems to be small things, but in total it's all the time and nerves. So, point 1. Hotkeys don't work if you mount with a Russian layout. Since DaVinci does not consider the internal code of the buttons, but their layout, it throws you off the rhythm of work when you have everything sharpened on hotkeys. Point 2. If you delete a piece of video on the ruler, then the docking will necessarily be with one frame of emptiness. That is, after the installation, a whole pack of microplanes. Point 3. When a heavy project is on the timeline, you hear all the joints seem to be fine, and when after the information half of the joints are cut off, this idiocy killed a lot of my time. Point 4. Very often, the usual picture does not open DaVinci, writes media offline, although it is quite ordinary in itself, and opens with other programs. The 5th paragraph, if you use the photo, then somehow these photos have been updated, for example, in Photoshop. You then can't just in sequence to find out where it is located in Bina, that is in the folder. And when you have dozens of folders and thousands of files, it's just impossible to find. And you need to manually search. Point 6. There is no frame for the text. It appeared only in the latest versions. Before that, it was a real hemorrhoid. You need to manually transfer each line, otherwise the text goes off the screen. Point 7. DaVinci's main problem is that all the most popular functions are hidden in the submenu. For example, a preset, that is, the plugins blanks here in the audio tab, for example. This is generally some kind of hemorrhoid problem. To find your own saved presets, it is necessary to go through a whole quest. How many times have I had to argue with all sorts of school children who claim that this or that program is the best for editing? But with leading questions, I understand that the person did not understand any of them properly. The DOP is finally going to die. If you are going to start learning how to mount, or are already practicing it, you need to get rid of Adobe Premiere, and already formulates an expert opinion. You can express your opinion when you have worked at least 5 years in each of them. This is already an authoritative view, where you have worked 10,000 hours in each one. For example, if I need to quickly assemble a plot of 30 minutes long, and when you have a broadcast in 10 minutes, then in this case I will not assemble it faster than in a composite anywhere so quickly. And it features hotkeys, and a complete lack of moments when you can accidentally hit, or something that will take away precious seconds, and is distracted by it. Everything is intuitively correct there. Where you can do everything without a mouse at all, where there won't be a bunch of idiotic random microplanes due to a bad magnet. Like in DaVinci, there won't be a desynchronous ruler after the information or opening of some plan for the whole online, due to an accidental mouse click. There are no such nuances in the view. It is such nuances that are critically important for extreme fast montages. Even a loss of a couple of seconds in the length of 5 to 10 years takes several weeks of your life. Well, conclusions. If they tell you that this is the perfect program for editing, then you are a sofa expert, and you can safely spit in his face. The Prime Minister will die soon. DaVinci is the best program. The formula is simple. For each task, there is its own DaVinci program. I use 4 clips and shorts. And 4 joint projects, only Adobe Premiere. You can also AVI, as this is a guarantee that by the deadline, I will not lose everything irrevocably because of a pack of jams. I really like the motion fusion design in DaVinci, but there are too many restrictions so far. And if you want to focus on motion design, it's better to study the author effect. It has 1,000 cool plugins, including free ones, and is constantly updated with the times. In Fusion, you can also use third-party plugins through the reactor. But the same freedoms are not enough. But there are, of course, its own cool features. Here are 3 dash glasses that can be assembled without plugins in Fusion. I did this clip once. Moreover, the glass effect was done without any shapes and materials, so there was a quick miscalculation. And plus the fusion, that he's inside DaVinci. And there is no need to enter other programs anywhere. This is a fat plus. Next comes the update. And as for updates, the professionals never put the latest programs and operating systems. I have often seen expensive projects completely destroyed after updates. I saw how the whole broadcast on the TV channel went down after updating the software. It's very simple. The main software testers are users. So professionals are always after the update, go to the forums, and read the latest error logs. When I saw the logs of the new 23rd Premiere, I realized that I would stay on the 20th. I don't need so many potentially dangerous joints and problems. By the way, I recently updated my iPad on my head, and now it slows down more often. So don't be free testers. And when they tell you that you need to install everything new, it means that this is being said by a person with Dunning-Kruger syndrome, who does not fumble at all how software is made. Let the testers of the latest updates be hamsters who are just beginning to understand the software. And we will update with a good delay when at least 5 fixes of the new version are released. So, define your tasks and based on them, you can choose the ideal installation program for you. CapKit, I think, will be the best investment of your time as a study. And that's it. Empyrean was with you. Support the channel by listening to my track Empyrean Lost in all music venues. Thank you for your attention. Bye. But I'm singing for you. You hear me and I call to you in this rhythm of love. This is the light of the lighthouse. Fly the wind.